Hi friends, it's Sajid and today I'm going to be doing a book haul. This is a long overdue book haul because it's going to be consisting of books that I got over the past 4 months or so. So let us just jump straight into it. So the first book I want to talk about is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This one is an adult fantasy novel about this girl who is held captive by this warlock in return for his protection of her people. I've heard amazing things about this book from so many people that I trust, but I've also heard some negative things about this book from some people that I also trust. So I am a bit wary, although I am excited to read it. The next book I have is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente. This is a middle grade story about a girl named September who is randomly and spontaneously whisked away to another world called Fairyland. In Fairyland, she goes on many quests and adventures and attempts to correct the political upheaval that exists there. I read this already and it is the only book for the year that I genuinely gave a 5-star rating. So if you haven't gotten around to this book, regardless of who you are, I think that you should. So the next few books that I have are the first 6 volumes in the Amulet series by Kazu Kabuchi. It is a graphic novel series about a brother and a sister who move into a new house and discover a portal to another world, and in that world they find out that they have some sort of destiny to fulfill there. And the books in this series consist of Book 1, The Stonekeeper, Book 2, The Stonekeeper's Curse, Book 3, The Cloud Searchers, Book 4, The Last Council, Book 5, Prince of the Elves, and Book 6, Escape from Lucian. You can consume all of these books in a matter of 3 hours. I absolutely loved all of them. They were so amazing and so enthralling, and I highly recommend this series. The next book that I have to share with you is Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. This is about a young girl named Kate who goes on this spontaneous road trip disguised as a boy in order to find the people who murdered her father and seek revenge on them. That's pretty much all I needed to know to be sold. The next book I have is George by Alex Gino. This one is a middle grade contemporary about a young transgendered girl whose assigned name is George. I believe in this story her school is having a rendition of Charlotte's Web and she wants to audition for the role of Charlotte. However, her teachers do not want her to do that because they insist that she is a boy. So I believe this is just basically her story of overcoming the obstacles that people place in front of her based on who she is. I also have The Snow Queen by Joan D. Vinge. This is the first book in the Snow Queen cycle, which is an intergalactic space opera science fiction story about these people called the Winter Colonists who rule this planet called Tiamat. However, their reign is coming under threat due to these other people who want to take over, and they are called, I believe, the Summer Primitives. This one was actually a gift from my lovely cousin Soraya and her wonderful husband Faizul. Big up Surya and Faizul. I also have Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray, which is the second book in the Diviners series. The Diviners series is basically a young adult paranormal series about these teenagers in the 1920s who have these sort of powers and divine abilities. I read the first book 2 years ago and I absolutely loved it, and even though my reading tastes have changed since then, I still am very excited to get into this one. I also have Ways of Sunlight by Sam Salvon, who is a Trinidadian author, and this is actually a book set in Trinidad. And I really need to read more books set in my own country. I don't really know what this story is about, but I read one of his other books called A Brighter Sun a couple of years back, and I really enjoyed it, so this is an author that I definitely trust. I also have Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie, and this is the first book in the Ancillary Justice trilogy, which is another sci-fi space opera intergalactic political story. I don't really know much more than that because the back summary is extremely vague, but it is a very well acclaimed and very well loved series, so I am definitely looking forward to getting into it and seeing what I think of it. I also have The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This is the first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy. It's set in a dystopian world where there are no longer any women. So it's basically set in hell. Our main protagonist, Todd, though, one day comes across a female. He finds a girl, and I believe that's where our story kicks off. I then have Dumpling by Julie Murphy, which is a young adult contemporary about this girl named Willow Dean, and it's basically a coming-of-age story and how she deals with romance and friendship and body image and all those sorts of stuff. I got about 20 chapters in and I put it down because I have a problem finishing things, but I do plan to get to it again sometime during the summer because I was really enjoying what I had read thus far. I also got Lost and Found by Brooke Davis, and this one is another middle grade contemporary, this time about a girl named Millie whose mother abandons her in the big ladies underwear department of a local store and never returns, so says the back summary. She then teams up with these two octogenarians, which I believe is a fancy term for people who are in their 80s, and they go on a spontaneous road trip adventure to find Millie's mother. I'm very intrigued by this one because it is definitely an interesting and unconventional concept. The next book that I have is Royal Wedding by Meg Cabot. This is the 11th book in the Princess Diaries series. I have not read the Princess Diaries series, but I did grow up with the movies. However, I really want to read the books, but I am having trouble finding them in local bookstores and libraries. So when I saw this one today at 20% off, I was like, yes please, thank you very much. And I got it. If you don't know what the Princess Diaries series is about, I suggest that you come out from under that rock that you are living under and consult Google. I then have The House on Mango Street, which is told in a series of vignettes from the perspective of Esperanza, giving accounts of her experiences and observations growing up on Mango Street in Chicago. Even though it is a very fast and simple read, there is a lot of underlying discourse on what it means to be a woman, abuse, power relations, and poverty, and I absolutely enjoyed this one and highly recommend. The next two books that I have to share with you are both memoirs from Maya Angelou, and the first one is Mom and Me and Mom. So this one basically talks about her life with her mother, the kind of role that her mother has to play in her life, and how her mother influenced her throughout her life growing up from a young girl to an adult. It was definitely a very impactful and touching story, and I really enjoyed it overall. And I also have All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. This one is an account of her life in Ghana with her son. I haven't gotten around to this one yet, but after reading that one, I am definitely excited to sometime soon. So that's going to be it for this haul. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know down below if you've read any of these books and if you have any thoughts on them. And as usual, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all again soon, inshallah.